A bold promise meets sobering reality. Is California's care court falling short or just getting started? 3 years ago, Governor Gavin Newsom took the stage with bold determination, vowing to fix what he called a long-standing failure: California's response to the thousands of residents living with severe mental illness on the streets. Previous efforts, like the state's Laura's Law, helped remarkably few people, just 218 in the 2018-19 fiscal year. Newsom was clear: that certainly is not demonstrable progress. With the launch of Care Court, he promised sweeping change and real support for struggling families. But here's the twist most people didn't expect. Nearly 2 years in, Care Court has reached only a few hundred people across the entire state, barely more than the very program Newsom previously critiqued. What happened to the grand vision? To dig deeper, Cal Matters surveyed every California county and interviewed more than 30 experts, advocates, and officials, unveiling the first comprehensive look at Care Court's rollout. The results? Participation has been far lower than projected, and the rollout much slower than officials anticipated. How does Care Court actually work, and why is it so controversial? The idea behind Care Court is relatively straightforward, but inside the technicalities is where much of the confusion and debate lies. The premise: family members, first responders, medical professionals, and others can ask a court to intervene for someone with severe psychosis who can't care for themselves. If accepted, the person may enter into a voluntary treatment plan, receiving therapy, medication, housing, and other services. Should the individual refuse, a judge has the authority to compel them into a court-ordered plan. But this is where controversy brews. On the surface, it sounds decisive. In reality, Care Court's hard power is limited. Most counties are mostly offering so-called voluntary agreements, which those suffering from mental illness can freely ignore. Of more than 2,400 petitions filed so far, only 528 resulted in treatment agreements or plans. Just 14 were actually court-ordered. And in places like Los Angeles, with the most petitions statewide, there have been 0 celebratory graduations from the program. Let's look at some real-world numbers. The Newsom administration predicted between 7,000 and 12,000 Californians would qualify for Care Court. Yet, as of July, the Judicial Council of California reports only 2,421 petitions filed and 528 agreements or plans formed. San Diego County forecast 1,000 petitions and 250 treatment plans in its first year. Nearly 2 years later, only 384 petitions and 134 agreements have emerged. Los Angeles County anticipated 4,500 enrollments in a year, but saw just 511 petitions, with 112 leading to care agreements. Across California, nearly 45% of Care Court petitions are dismissed outright. That number soars to almost 2/3 in places like San Francisco. Voluntary treatment is the norm. Very few individuals have stuck with the program through to completion or graduated. And in the counties operating Care Court long enough, most report negligible graduation rates. So why is it so difficult to serve more people through Care Court? The answer is complex. And, for many families and advocates, frustrating. Newsom's legacy on the line, and his critics get louder. Governor Newsom has made fixing homelessness and mental health core parts of his political legacy. Following Care Court's launch, new laws tried to make involuntary mental health treatment easier, and a 2024 ballot measure released $6.4 billion in funding for mental health housing. Yet, as Care Court struggles, the governor faces accusations that the program's numbers prove it's an expensive failure, more about political optics than real solutions. For instance, disability rights activists argue the low enrollment is proof that Care Court is a wasteful distraction from the deeper problems of housing and mental health system shortages. Some families, who initially threw their weight behind the program, inspired by Newsom's promises, also feel let down. Anita Fisher was one such supporter. Her son has cycled repeatedly through homelessness, jail, and suffering. When Care Court arrived in her San Diego County community, she had hope. Now, her assessment: it's a total failure. Eligibility is a roadblock, and that's only the beginning. Here's what most people miss. Not everyone suffering from homelessness or visible mental illness can access Care Court. The requirements are strict. Only those with certain diagnoses, such as schizophrenia and related psychotic disorders, qualify. Even once a petition is filed, many are dismissed, sometimes because the person can't be located, refuses services, or already fits into a narrow idea of receiving adequate treatment. What's more, federal privacy rules make it hard for families to gather the proof they need. Outreach workers cite difficulties finding people on the streets. Often, potential participants simply decline help, leaving Care Court without the power to compel action. A new proposal to expand Care Court, but will more people actually get help? The debate isn't over. State Senator Thomas Umberg has proposed a bill to widen eligibility, including those experiencing psychosis due to bipolar disorder. He agrees the program is a work in progress rather than a panacea, but others say this would simply expand an ineffective bureaucracy without tackling deeper causes like housing shortages. Stunningly, estimates of how many more people would qualify range from as little as 3.5% to close to 50% in some counties. And the controversy grows. Disability rights advocates warn that pumping more people into the program won't conjure resources or real solutions. A court order doesn't make resources appear out of thin air, cautions Eve Garrow with the ACLU of Southern California. The $160 million question: is Care Court worth the price? Over 2 fiscal years, California has spent nearly $160 million on Care Court, with fewer than 550 people actually getting services so far. Critics are direct. Couldn't those funds have been used more effectively elsewhere? Dissenters argue the numbers don't tell the full story. Even dismissed petitions can put counties in touch with people who need help. Outreach efforts funded through Care Court may open doors to services otherwise out of reach. But even supporters admit those successes are hard to measure, and perhaps even harder to scale. A surge of petitions that never appeared. What went wrong? When the program began, counties like San Diego anticipated being swamped with petitions, so they staffed up, using local budgets to hire clinicians and psychologists. But the flood never materialized. Why? Filing a petition turned out to be more challenging than expected. First responders and hospital staff, overwhelmed by regular duties, quickly found the process wasn't a useful tool. Many families also struggled to navigate the bureaucracy. Even where counties tried to streamline things, allowing virtual hearings or advancing petitions without all paperwork, initial projections remained unfulfilled. Interestingly, this slow rollout had a